Hey Scrappers, it's Vanessa here with another scrapbook process video using my March stash kit. And the first thing that I decided to do was take a piece of yellow cardstock from my stash, and I am taking some gold Heidi Swap Color Shine, and I'm just going to add some splatters to the background of this layout. I wanted to add just some interest to the background so that it wasn't just a flat piece of cardstock. And I'm going to set that aside and let that dry. While I do that, I have pulled a whole bunch of bits and pieces of scraps and a few pieces of 6x6 papers from the 6x6 paper pad that I used for this stash kit. And I've just basically pulled all of these bits and pieces. I'm going to trim them down and try to get a lot of them used up on this layout. And I have decided to go with a very tone-on-tone yellow as the main color layout. There's some neutrals, but essentially the only color that I'm really pulling in for this layout is yellow. I do use one floral that was in the 6x6, but it is very subtle little flowers, and that is the only other color that even comes into this layout. And I don't pull any of the actual colors that are in the flowers anywhere else in the layout. So I'm just matting or getting my mats here cut for my photo. And my plan for this layout is to go for a grid design. So the first thing I'm doing here is just matting my 4x4 photo up and putting a doily in behind, and I'm going to finally use that banner from a Maggie Holmes chipboard sheet, I believe. And I'm going to use that there underneath the photo. And so you see I've laid out each of the quadrants, and I believe the pattern papers that are the main building block of each of the quadrants, I believe it's about 4.5 by 4.5 in size that I'm using for each of the quadrants on this layout. And this one goes together pretty fast because I usually find grid layouts themselves don't take too long. I do sort of make each quadrant of the grid its sort of own almost little layout. I layer up a whole bunch of papers. I use some tags and some frames and some doilies and some Project Life cards and just bits and pieces that I pulled from my stash kit. I am getting down toward the end, and so I just went through and pulled some from my neutrals and some from my yellow embellishments, and I'm just seeing what works on this page. So I do bring in a punch here, and it's a notebook punch, and I just want to add some detail and some texture to each one of these quadrants. So I just kind of do a little bit of something in each quadrant just to add, like the doily adds some texture. I'm using this punch on 2 of the quadrants. And then I did show earlier that there is a yellow piece of pattern paper that had some flowers in it. And I am going to fussy cut some of those little flowers out of the remnant little strip of pattern paper that I had left. I'm going to cut some of those flowers out, and it's just a tone-on-tone yellow flower. And I will scatter those in each of the quadrants throughout the layout, as you'll see when I come back. So after I laid everything out and I turned the camera off, I went and cut out those flowers that I showed you there. And some of them are small and then some are big. And then I also have a tag in the upper left quadrant that I'm showing here. And I stitched the feather, I believe it is, on the tag with some floss that I have in my stash, just to add that extra texture. I believe this was an old Amy Tan tag. And I'm just going to go through now for each of the quadrants and everything that I pulled and ink it all up with the Distress Vintage Photo Distress ink. So each little quadrant will have all of its pieces inked up, and all of the pieces will then get glued down. And I believe that I do all the gluing and everything like that off screen, so you don't have to watch me do that. And so now I've come back, and the last thing that I'm going to do, this layout came together very quickly because of the fact that I went with a grid sort of design. So once I've glued everything down and each quadrant has quite a few layers, I now am just finishing it up with my title. And the title for this one is "You Two Are Cute." And this little picture is just a picture of our two little kitties. We have a full black and a full white kitten. Or actually, now they're full-grown cats. This was when they were babies. But they still sometimes sleep like this, although most of the time they're usually not sleeping quite this close together anymore. But they used to cuddle up together quite a bit when they were kittens. So I'm finishing the layout up with just some wooden hearts, and I believe that I come in just a second with some of the thickers, those gold thickers that you see off to the right. I take some of the hearts that are left in that thicker set, and I put those in each of the quadrants on the layout. Excuse me. And so I'm just going to lay that down, glue all those down, and then put those hearts on. And I believe that that wraps up this layout. Like I said, this one really came together quickly. And I really think that of the layouts that I made this month, this is probably one of my favorites. I love that it's somewhat on the simple side, but it's got lots of layers and there's lots of interest. There's not a huge story to this one. It's really just the cute kitties. And that is basically all it really is. It's just a memory that I wanted to scrapbook this cute picture. And so I am not going to write any journaling for this. It'll just go in our family album, I think, and just be a cute little picture of the cats when they were little. And with that, the layout is done. So here are the still photos, and this is coming close to the end of my layouts for my March Stash Kit, so I will catch you guys next time. Bye-bye, guys.